Alina Reyes had accepted death when her rover's structural integrity failed. The Martian dust storm had appeared seemingly from nowhere, a roaring red wall that engulfed her exploration vehicle before she could reach the safety of Olympus Station. Now, as the rover's main compartment depressurized with an agonizing metallic shriek, she fumbled with her emergency suit, the cabin's alarm screams competing with her own racing heartbeat. Mayday, mayday. This is Dr. Alina Reyes. Shinorcheology team. Coordinates. She glanced at the failing navigation system. Nothing. Static filled her comms as the dust storm scrambled all signals. The emergency beacon on her suit blinked once, twice, then went dark. Alina staggered out into the howling tempest. Visibility. Perhaps 2 meters in the swirling crimson hell. Oxygen. 6 hours if she regulated her breathing. Chance of rescue. Effectively 0. The storm would last days, and Olympus Station was 30 kilometers away. One step, then another. The wind screamed, pelting her faceplate with debris. Her suit's external temperature reading climbed as friction from the dust particles created a localized heating effect. Sweat trickled down her spine despite the cooling system's best efforts. 3 hours later, Alina stumbled over the edge of what she initially thought was a small crater. Catching herself, she brushed away the rust-colored dust to reveal not natural rock, but something smooth, impossibly smooth, with faint geometric patterns etched into a material that resembled obsidian but felt warm to the touch even through her gloves. "What the hell?" she whispered, momentarily forgetting her impending death. The storm had uncovered something in the Valles Marineris that wasn't on any geological survey. As a xenorchaeologist who had spent 15 years finding absolutely nothing on Mars that wasn't explicable by natural processes, Alina felt a surge of adrenaline cut through her exhaustion. Using her remaining water supply, she cleared more of the surface, revealing what appeared to be the edge of a massive structure. There, at what seemed like an entrance point, she found a small depression containing an object roughly the size of a human heart, pulsing with faint blue-green light. "This isn't possible," she murmured, reaching out instinctively. The moment Alina's gloved fingers touched the artifact, the universe changed. A sound. No, not quite a sound, more a feeling of sound, resonated through her entire being. It bypassed her ears entirely, vibrating directly through her bones, her blood, her brain. Notes that couldn't exist in conventional music theory wove together into a melody so complex, and yet so fundamentally right that tears sprang to her eyes. The artifact's glow intensified, synchronizing with her heartbeat. Blue-green light traced up her arm in delicate, branching patterns that resembled both circuit boards and musical notation. For a single transcendent moment, Alina understood everything. The mathematical precision of the universe, the symphonic nature of reality itself. Then she collapsed. She awoke to the sound of voices and the sterile white ceiling of Olympus Station's medical bay. "She's awake," called a familiar voice. Dr. Kwame Osai, the station's chief medical officer. "Alina, can you hear me? We found you because of the signal. We've never seen anything like it." "Signal," she croaked, throat parched. "Whatever you found out there," Kwame said, showing her a tablet display of Mars from orbit. A pulsing blue-green spiral of energy emanated from the Valles Marineris, visible from space. "It led us right to you, and it hasn't stopped." Within days, the signal had spread across human communications networks. Scientists couldn't explain how it propagated through supposedly secure systems, migrating effortlessly from Mars relays to Earth's internet infrastructure. Attempts to block it merely resulted in it finding alternative pathways. The signal wasn't harmful. It simply existed everywhere. And then people began to change. Children were the first to show effects, waking from dreams where they heard beautiful music. Prodigies emerged overnight, kids with no musical training suddenly composing complex symphonies or humming melodies that made laboratory equipment malfunction in inexplicable ways. Adults reported increased sensory awareness, particularly around electrical fields and quantum fluctuations previously invisible to human perception. It was amid this global awakening that they came, the massive ships of the Tyranny Collective appearing near Luna without warning, their hulls adorned with technology that seemed to bend light itself around their crystalline structures. The Seven Species Alliance arrived with casual displays of power, a demonstration that neutralized a rogue missile launched by a panicked Earth nation, the instantaneous translation of all human languages, the curing of 50 terminal patients from major hospitals worldwide as a gesture of goodwill. Their ambassador, the four-armed, crystalline-skinned Thalvor, addressed the hastily assembled United Nations with an offer that seemed too good to be true. "We have watched your species' development with interest," the alien's perfectly synthesized voice announced. "Your potential for membership in our galactic community is significant. We offer technological uplift, cultural exchange, and protection in these dangerous cosmic waters." Only Elena, still experiencing residual visions from her contact with the artifact, noticed how the entire Xorani delegation flinched visibly when the welcoming ceremony included a string quartet's performance. Their crystalline appendages vibrated in what she recognized not as appreciation, but as fear. The Xorani transformed the lunar surface with breathtaking speed. Where there had been nothing but ancient craters and dust, a crystalline diplomatic compound rose within 72 hours, a sprawling structure of impossible geometries and materials that shimmered with iridescent light even in lunar shadow. Regular shuttles ferried Earth's political and scientific elite for lavish diplomatic functions, where Xorani technology performed what could only be described as miracles. Senator Amara Chen returned from one such reception, with her stage 4 pancreatic cancer completely eradicated. The Russian quantum computing team arrived with an unsolvable algorithm and departed with a solution that advanced their research by decades. Each demonstration made the same point. The gap between human and Xorani technology was so vast it bordered on magic. Meanwhile, Elena Reyes fought to maintain control of her research. The artifact had been relocated to a high-security facility beneath Geneva, where an international team conducted around-the-clock analysis. But whenever Elena attempted to share her theories about the artifact's resonance with human brainwaves, she found her research time mysteriously reduced or her equipment malfunctioning. 3 weeks after first contact, Elena's funding was abruptly terminated, her security clearance revoked. She was escorted from the facility by guards who wouldn't meet her eyes. That evening, as she sat in her hotel room contemplating the end of her career, a soft knock came at her door. Outside stood a slender Japanese man with wire-rimmed glasses and a nervous smile. "Dr. Reyes, I am Takashi Himura, Quantum Physics Department at Tokyo University." He glanced down the hallway. "My sister was a concert pianist who never showed musical aptitude until 3 weeks ago. Now she plays concerts from memory after hearing them once. I believe there is a connection to your artifact." Within 48 hours, Elena was working in Himura's private laboratory in the Japanese Alps, a facility funded by his family's technology fortune. There, away from Xorani observers, they made their breakthrough. The artifact responded uniquely to human touch, revealing holographic schematics when activated by specific frequencies in human voice patterns. These schematics detailed techniques for manipulating energy fields through harmonics and rhythmic patterns, what they nicknamed resonance casting. "Try humming a C major scale while touching this node," Elena suggested one night, after hours of failed attempts to decipher a particular pattern. Himura complied, and both gasped as a small stylus on the workbench rose 3 centimeters into the air, hovering as long as he maintained the tone. "It's not telekinesis," Elena said, examining the readings on their instruments. "The vibrations are creating a localized distortion in the quantum field. We're not moving objects with our minds. We're using sound to restructure reality." Aboard the Xorani flagship orbiting Earth's moon, the Council of Seven gathered in a chamber where each species sat within a sound-dampening field tuned to their particular physiology. "This is the 3rd time we've encountered the conductor's progeny," hissed Kovacs, the serpentine high strategist. Its scales shifted color with each syllable, a biological display of agitation. The previous two civilizations were eradicated before full awakening. The central holographic display showed worlds reduced to sterile, barren landscapes, planets destroyed by Xorani weaponry after their inhabitants began developing resonance abilities. "These humans progress faster than anticipated," rumbled the matriarch, her massive arthropod body clicking with concern. "The genetic sequences are activating throughout their population, particularly in the immature specimens." "The diplomatic approach is failing," said Thalfor. "Their neural structures are too receptive to the seed signal. Containment protocol must accelerate." The council voted unanimously. The public narrative would continue, beneficial aliens offering technological enlightenment, while covert operations neutralized key human resonance researchers and deployed harmonic suppression technology. Back on Earth, the United Nations established an international team to study the artifact, with Xorani observers prominently included. During translation of some glyphs, Alina, now participating via secure video link from Japan, noticed the Xorani linguist deliberately mistranslating a warning about harmonic protection as harmonic destruction. That night, as she recorded her suspicions in her apartment within Himura's compound, Alina heard the distinctive sound of her door lock being bypassed. Acting on instinct rather than thought, she began humming the sequence they'd discovered earlier that day, a resonance pattern that enhanced structural integrity. The intruder burst through the door, a figure moving with inhuman speed, its outline blurring as optical camouflage failed under the influence of her humming. The creature froze, then fled through her window with impossible agility, leaving behind advanced surveillance equipment. "They're afraid of us," Alina told Himura as security personnel searched her rooms. "Not what we might become, what we already are." 6 months after first contact, human society balanced on the edge of transformation. Underground resonance clubs flourished in major cities worldwide, converted warehouses and abandoned theaters where practitioners demonstrated increasingly impressive abilities. In Seoul, a street performer levitated metal objects while singing traditional folk songs. At Cambridge University, a quartet of mathematics students created prismatic energy fields by harmonizing perfectly, their voices generating complex geometric patterns in the air. Official news sources, heavily influenced by Xorani information specialists, labeled these displays as mass hallucination or fraudulent special effects. Scientific journals rejected papers on resonance phenomena, and researchers reporting positive results found their careers mysteriously derailed. Yet the videos spread unstoppably through encrypted channels. People experimented in their homes, discovering that even simple humming could sometimes make lightweight objects vibrate or drift momentarily upward. Children proved especially receptive. Many reported dreams of cosmic music and woke with the ability to perceive energy flows around electronic devices. Alina and Himura tracked these developments from their mountain laboratory while analyzing data from the artifact. They'd successfully decoded several key patterns, but knew they needed additional expertise. "The resonance structures in the artifact's code resemble neural pathways," Alina said one morning, examining a holographic projection. "But they're also musical. We need someone who understands both." Himura showed her a heavily redacted academic paper, Camden Wells, brilliant AI specialist who theorized that human consciousness contains intrinsic musical patterns. The scientific community ostracized him. Where is he now? Tokyo, working as a piano tuner, of all things. 3 days later, Alina found herself in a cramped Tokyo apartment filled with vintage musical instruments alongside cutting-edge computer equipment. Camden Wells didn't match his academic profile. A lanky man with nervous eyes and fingers that never stopped moving, creating silent melodies on any available surface. "They called me crazy," he said, navigating through chaotic piles of handwritten musical scores and neural mapping printouts. "Said human consciousness couldn't possibly have evolved with embedded musical structures. That the patterns I found were statistical anomalies. He played a sequence on his grandfather's piano, the notes cascading in an oddly familiar pattern. But I was right. Human thought has musical architecture. The question is, why? The answer came that evening when they combined their research. Himura's quantum resonance measurements, Alina's artifact translations, and Wells' neural pattern analyses created a complete picture. Human DNA contained dormant sequences that perfectly matched patterns in the artifact's signal, sequences entirely absent in all 7 Sorani species. These sequences, when activated, transform the human nervous system into an organic quantum processor, Wells explained, highlighting sections of code that bridged genetics and the artifact's instructions. We're not just receiving the signal. We're amplified transceivers designed to process and generate these resonance patterns. As proof, he played a simple melody on his grandfather's piano, notes that corresponded to activation frequencies in the artifact. For a brief, stunning moment, everyone in the room perceived quantum fluctuations as visible waves, like seeing the foundational fabric of reality itself. Outside the apartment, 3 Sorani surveillance drones crashed simultaneously to the ground. Their breakthrough was interrupted by breaking news from Tokyo's Marunouchi district. A disgruntled former employee had detonated explosives at a crowded technology exhibition. Amid the chaos, 12-year-old piano prodigy Hana Tanaka, trapped with hundreds of attendees, had performed an impossible feat. Amateur footage, broadcast live before censors could intervene, showed the girl sitting at a display piano as the first explosion rocked the building. Instead of fleeing, she began playing, her fingers moving in patterns that matched the artifact's fundamental sequence. The sound became visible, golden light spiraling outward from her hands, suspending debris in midair, creating a dome of protection that saved everyone within 30 meters. The recording ended as black-uniformed security personnel with Sorani insignia rushed toward the girl, only to be repelled by her music. Within hours, #HarmonyGirl trended globally. Governments issued denials. Sorani representatives called for calm and rational examination of edited footage. But Alina knew the truth as she watched the video for the 20th time. "They're not afraid of what will become," she whispered, repeating Wells' earlier realization. "They're afraid of what we already are." 3 days after the Marunouchi incident, the Sorani abandoned all pretense. Earth's communications networks simultaneously went dark, replaced by a global broadcast that hijacked everything from military channels to children's streaming services. The crystalline face of Thalvor filled screens worldwide, its faceted eyes reflecting a cold light that seemed to stare directly at each viewer. "People of Earth," the ambassador began, its synthesized voice now stripped of its previous warmth. "Your civilization stands at a precipice. The phenomena you have witnessed, these resonance abilities, are not evolution or advancement. They are the reemergence of a genetic weapon that nearly destroyed our galaxy eons ago." Stunning holographic projections materialized in skies above major cities, planets reduced to shattered ruins, asteroid fields that had once been thriving worlds. Humanity carries genetic markers of an ancient species called the Conductors, beings who wielded harmonics as weapons of unimaginable destruction. Their ability to sing reality into different configurations brought chaos and devastation until the combined forces of all rational species eliminated their threat. The ambassador's form shifted, revealing more of its true appearance, less humanoid, more alien and threatening. "For your own protection and the safety of all sentient life, we will implement harmonic suppression fields around all human settlements. Resistance will necessitate more permanent solutions. This is not negotiable." The broadcast ended as abruptly as it began, leaving billions in stunned silence. Alina, Himura, and Wells watched from their Tokyo safe house, having abandoned the mountain laboratory after detecting Sorani scout ships approaching. They had spent the night decoding the final sections of the artifact's information, revelations that directly contradicted the Sorani narrative. "We have to get this information to world leaders," Alina said, gathering their research tablets. The conductors weren't destroyers. They were defenders against something far worse. Making their way through streets filled with confused citizens and the occasional military patrol, they'd reached the United Nations emergency session being held at Tokyo International Forum, one of the few locations with a communication system independent of compromised global networks. Security was chaos. Delegates argued in multiple languages. Military advisors shouted contradictory assessments of the tyranny threat capabilities. When Elena finally reached the main chamber, she found a platform to speak only through Kimura's family connections with the Japanese delegation. The artifact contains historical records, she explained to the assembly, projecting translated schematics onto the main screen. The conductors were not aggressors but peacekeepers who stood against an ancient cosmic threat called the Discordant, entities that feed on cosmic entropy and destroy entire galaxies. As evidence appeared on screen, mathematical proofs, historical records, star maps showing the Discordant's path of destruction. Helena noticed movement near the upper balcony. 3 Sorani operatives, their camouflage only partially concealing their non-human forms, raised weapons. "Get down," she shouted, but too late. Energy weapons discharge, vaporizing a section of the podium and sending delegates scrambling. Security forces returned fire ineffectively against the aliens' advanced shielding. In the chaos, Alina felt a hand grip her arm with inhuman strength. She turned to face certain death, only to find herself staring at a Sorani unlike any she'd seen before. Its elongated limbs and brilliant blue skin marked it as different from the crystalline forms she'd encountered previously. "This way, Dr. Reyes," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Vexera of the Scholar Caste. Not all Sorani believe the lies of our collective." As security engaged the assassins, Vexera led Alina, Himura, and Wells through maintenance tunnels beneath the forum building. "I've studied your Bach, your Beethoven, your Beyoncé," the alien explained as they emerged into a back alley where an unmarked vehicle waited. "No species bent on universal destruction creates such beauty. The collective has suppressed the true history for millennia, but some of us remember fragments, passed down through generations of scholars." The vehicle took them to a private airfield where a sleek craft awaited, its design neither fully human nor Sorani. "A hybrid vessel," Vexera explained, "built by a faction of my kind who question the collective's absolute authority. We must leave Earth immediately. The orbital platforms they're deploying will render all resonance abilities inert within days." As they boarded, Alina saw the news on a monitor. Sorani warships had begun positioning massive obelisk-like structures above major population centers. The harmonic dampeners had already begun affecting areas of North America, with reports of resonance-capable humans experiencing debilitating pain. "Where are we going?" Wells asked as the ship lifted off, its engines nearly silent. "To the one place they won't look," Vexera replied. "The asteroid belt. Your corporations have built research stations there, hidden from both Earth governments and Sorani sensors. And we're not going alone." The alien gestured to the rear compartment, where a dozen humans waited, including a familiar small figure clutching a portable keyboard. Hana Tanaka, the Harmony girl, looked up with determined eyes far older than her 12 years. "I heard the music in my dreams," she said simply. "I've always heard it." On Earth, the situation deteriorated with frightening speed. Massive tyranny, harmonic dampeners, towered over major cities, obelisk-like structures that emitted invisible waves causing nausea and disorientation in anyone attempting to use resonance abilities. Resistance cells formed but were easily neutralized. Without the ability to coordinate their resonance patterns, humans found their new powers rendered useless against Sorani technology. Public broadcasts showed rehabilitated resonance carriers, denouncing their abilities as dangerous mutations. Sorani medical teams established clinics offering treatments to cure the condition, though those who entered rarely emerged with their personalities intact. Harmony Station floated in a rarely traveled region of the asteroid belt, its exterior camouflaged to resemble a common nickel-iron asteroid. Built by a consortium of corporations skeptical of alien benevolence, the facility housed laboratories, living quarters, and a central chamber whose purpose was now being redefined. "The acoustics in this room are perfect," Dr. Himura noted, clapping his hands to demonstrate the precise way sound traveled through the circular space. "The corporation designed it for quantum communication experiments." "Perfect for what we need," Elena replied, studying the 70 humans gathered in the chamber, the largest collection of resonance-capable individuals outside Xerani control. Each had been smuggled from Earth through a network of sympathizers and Vexera's dissident faction. Previous attempts at resonance casting had been individual efforts. The breakthrough came accidentally during a shared meal when 3 researchers simultaneously hummed the same melody while discussing a problem. The station's gravity fluctuated for 3.7 seconds, long enough for cups to float upward before crashing back to the table. "It's stronger when we work together," Elena realized. "We need to coordinate." Camden Wells, his neurodivergent mind uniquely suited to visualizing complex harmonic patterns, devoted himself to creating an algorithm that could identify potential conductors, humans with exceptional ability to synchronize others' resonance patterns. "Conventional orchestras have conductors for a reason," he explained, displaying neural maps showing resonance synchronization between individuals. "They don't just keep time, they unite disparate elements into a coherent whole." The station's AI processed the data and identified an unexpected candidate. Amelia Vasquez, a former symphony conductor who had arrived with the latest group of refugees. The 40-year-old woman had escaped a Xerani rehabilitation facility, where she witnessed horrific experimentation on human subjects. "They were dissecting people," she told Elena, her hands shaking as she recalled the memory. "Removing vocal cords, examining neural tissue, trying to understand how we do what we do." Under Vasquez's guidance, they formed the first human resonance orchestra. 7 members successfully generated a sustained energy field that shielded a portion of the station from sensors. With 12, they created a bubble that allowed resonance abilities even within a test-dampening field. 21 members established quantum communication with resistance cells on Earth, bypassing all Xerani surveillance. Their most ambitious test involved 33 carefully selected musicians arranged in concentric circles around the artifact, which Elena had managed to smuggle off Earth before the Xerani lockdown. As they performed a piece Wells had composed based on patterns from the artifact, something unexpected happened. The ancient relic began to change, its surface flowing like liquid metal, geometric patterns rearranging themselves into new configurations. "It's responding," Elena whispered, watching in awe as the artifact unfolded like a technological flower, revealing internal chambers and mechanisms of incomprehensible complexity. In a breathtaking transformation, the artifact expanded to reveal its true nature, a seed ship containing compressed knowledge and technology of the conductors, awaiting a species worthy of inheriting their legacy. The unfolding released a pulse that permanently attuned all humans on the station to higher resonance frequencies, enhancing their abilities beyond anything they'd previously achieved. Vexera watched in reverent silence. "The legends were true," the alien scholar murmured. "The conductors did not perish entirely. They seeded their knowledge throughout the galaxy, hoping worthy successors would awaken to it." Their moment of triumph was short-lived. The station's sensors detected a massive energy signature entering the outer solar system, a Xerani vessel unlike any they'd encountered, shaped like an enormous tuning fork with devastating weaponry bristling along its length. "The silencer," Vexera said, blue skin paling to a sickly gray. "They only deploy it for complete species eradication." A transmission, intercepted by their newly enhanced systems, confirmed their worst fears. The message from the Xerani Supreme Council to the silencer was chillingly clear: sterilize all human settlements beyond Earth. Begin with Mars colony. The infection must be contained before they learn the final movement. 2 million people on Mars had no idea what was coming for them. Mars received the warning with 17 hours before the silencer would arrive. "If you have any miracles left, now's the time," Colonel John Way of Mars Defense Force said, his holographic image flickering in Harmony Station's command center. Behind him, Martian civilians rushed to evacuation centers despite the obvious math. There weren't nearly enough ships to evacuate 2 million people. "The silencer can extinguish an entire biosphere in minutes," Vex-Era explained, displaying tactical schematics smuggled from Serani military archives. Its primary weapon creates a harmonic cascade that ruptures the bonds between atoms. Elena studied the specifications with growing horror. "Can it be stopped?" "No conductor-seeded species has ever survived an encounter," the alien scholar admitted. "But none ever awakened enough to form orchestras." Vesk stepped forward, her conductor's hand steady despite the stakes. "My orchestra volunteers. Get us to Mars." Using knowledge extracted from the seed ship, Dr. Rice and Himura worked feverishly to retrofit a mining vessel with acoustic amplification technology. They named it Orpheus, after the mythological musician who charmed even death with his melodies. The 33 orchestra members boarded with instruments crafted from conductor materials found within the seed ship, objects that responded to human touch with resonant frequencies impossible to achieve with conventional materials. As the Orpheus launched toward Mars, Hana Tanaka pressed a small object into Elena's hand. "I made this," the child prodigy said. "The ship told me how." It was a simple flute fashioned from seed ship material, with impossible geometries that changed as it moved. "What does it do?" Elena asked. "It remembers music," Hannah replied cryptically. The silencer approached Mars with 8 support vessels, their weapons already powering up as they passed Deimos. From the Martian surface, millions watched the impossible battle unfold on emergency broadcasts. The tiny human vessels seemed absurdly outmatched against the massive Serani warships. Inside the Orpheus, Vesks took her position at the center of concentric rings of musicians. "Begin with composition lambda as rehearsed," she instructed. "Focus on harmonic convergence at measure 37. The orchestra began to play, their music amplified and transformed by the ship's systems, technology that translated acoustic vibrations into energy patterns that rippled through space. On view screens, they watched as visible waves distorted the vacuum between planets. 3 Serani support vessels suddenly lost power, their systems disrupted by frequencies that human military intelligence had identified as vulnerable resonance points in Serani technology. The Serani response came swiftly. The silencer deployed specialized countermeasures, harmonic dampers that projected cancellation waves toward the human ship. 4 orchestra members collapsed, blood trickling from their ears as the counter-frequencies disrupted their neural patterns. "Our primary composition is failing," Himura reported, monitoring the effectiveness of their attack. "They're adapting to our harmonic structure." Vesks hesitated only a moment before making a decision that would later be studied in both musical conservatories and military academies. "Classical structure won't work," she announced to her orchestra. "Follow my lead. Jazz improvisation now." She began a chaotic-seeming progression, her hands weaving patterns in the air that the musicians followed instinctively. What emerged was music that followed no predictable mathematical pattern. It swung between harmonies, jumped scales, incorporated microtones, and polyrhythms that no algorithm could anticipate. On the silencer's bridge, Serani commanders frantically recalibrated their countermeasures, but their predictive systems failed against music that defied prediction, that embodied the human capacity for spontaneous creation. The human orchestra's improvised assault disabled the silencer's primary weapons banks, buying precious hours for Mars Colony to launch every available evacuation vessel. When the silencer finally adapted and prepared to fire its secondary weapons, Vesks made her most desperate choice. "Full power to Deimos relay," she ordered. "We're broadcasting everything." The orchestra directed all energy toward the Deimos communications array, the solar system's most powerful transmitter. Their harmonic patterns bypassed all Serani filters and dampening fields, reaching Earth in an uncensored broadcast. Billions on the home planet witnessed the battle in real time, saw irrefutable proof of both the Tyranny's true intentions and humanity's remarkable defense. The effect was instantaneous. Military orchestras formed within hours. Underground resistance networks distributed instructions to awaken and train resonance-capable humans. The Orpheus, its mission accomplished but systems critically damaged, limped away from Mars as the silencer regrouped. Half the orchestra lay dead from the neural strain of their performance, but their sacrifice had achieved something unprecedented. They had survived an encounter with the silencer. As the damaged ship struggled back toward Harmony Station, Dr. Rice examined Hannah's gift, the strange flute that remembered music. Within its impossible geometry, she discovered it had recorded every note of Vesquez's improvised composition, preserving the one weapon the Tyranny couldn't counter: human creativity. The Tyranny High Command, humiliated by the Martian defeat, deployed their entire regional fleet, over 200 warships converging on the solar system from neighboring sectors. "This is no longer containment," the matriarch declared to the assembled War Council, her massive arthropod form dominating the command chamber. "It is excision." Earth had 3 weeks before the Armada arrived. What followed was a transformation unlike anything in human history. Ancient concert halls became training facilities for resonance casters. The Sydney Opera House, Carnegie Hall, and La Scala hosted continuous sessions where conductors trained thousands in harmonic warfare. Factory floors were converted to produce instruments designed by engineers working with conductor schematics. Space agencies retrofitted satellites into harmonic relay stations that allowed resonance patterns to be amplified and transmitted globally. Former enemies became allies overnight. Russian quantum engineers collaborated with American acoustic specialists. Chinese harmonics theorists worked alongside European musicians. Even North Korea opened its borders to resonance researchers. "We've never been so united," Elena remarked as she watched feeds from Earth while preparing for another mission. "Nothing unifies a species like extinction," Vexera replied. While Earth prepared, the most elite human team, led by Dr. Rice, Himura, and Wells, undertook a desperate mission to recover 3 more seed ships hidden in the solar system. Intelligence extracted from the first ship had revealed their locations, one in Venus's upper atmosphere, another buried beneath Europa's ice, and a third concealed within Saturn's rings. Each recovery was a battle against both hostile environments and Tyranny hunter-killer drones deployed to prevent exactly this mission. On Venus, they lost 3 team members to atmospheric pressure failures. On Europa, they barely escaped a Tyranny ambush. At Saturn, they watched a support vessel disintegrate under enemy fire. But each recovered seed ship triggered new awakenings in human resonance ability. More importantly, each contained pieces of the terrifying truth, schematics of the breach the Discordant had created eons ago, records of star systems devoured by these extra-dimensional entities, and a conductor's final desperate plan. "They sacrificed themselves," Elena explained during an emergency briefing with Earth's Unify Command. The conductors used themselves as living resonance barriers to seal the breach, knowing they couldn't survive the process. But before they did, they scattered seed ships throughout galaxies, encoding their knowledge in hopes that other species might one day continue their work. "And the Tyranny?" asked the UN Secretary-General. "They witnessed the destructive final battle, but misunderstood its purpose," Vexera answered. "My ancestors saw the devastation without comprehending that it prevented something infinitely worse. They'd spent millennia eradicating potential successor species out of fear, preventing the very defense the galaxy will eventually need again." When long-range sensors detected the Tyranny Armada entering the outer solar system, mankind was ready. The aliens expected a primitive species in disarray. What they found was a unified planetary defense none could have imagined possible 3 weeks earlier. Every human settlement from Earth to the Kuiper Belt had been transformed into a node in a vast, interconnected resonance network. Billions of humans hummed a baseline harmony that powered the system, while thousands of trained orchestras maintained complex patterns that created an interconnected defensive web. In orbit above Earth, aboard a hastily constructed acoustic amplification station called Harmonic Point, Earth's most gifted conductors, including the recovered Vesks, prodigy Hana Tanaka, and a reformed Sorani dissident council led by Vexera, directed the counterattack. But the humans didn't simply attack. They performed the Annihilation Symphony, a carefully constructed composition developed using both conductor knowledge and humanity's unique musical heritage, a blend of classical structure, jazz improvisation, and resonance patterns from every human culture, from Aboriginal Dreamtime songs to Tuvan throat singing. The symphony's first movement selectively targeted Sorani weapon systems, causing precision failures that left the ships intact. The second movement disrupted propulsion, immobilizing the fleet. The third created a harmonic barrier that prevented retreat, all while keeping life support systems deliberately untouched, a mercy the Sorani would not have shown. When the flagship attempted a desperate final strike, using a quantum resonance cannon capable of shattering planets, 13-year-old Hana Tanaka stepped forward. Using the mysterious flute she had created weeks earlier, she performed an impossible solo that incorporated every note from Vesk's original improvisation on Mars, now amplified by humanity's full resonance network. The weapon's energy turned back upon itself. The flagship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist in normal spacetime, along with 20 vessels nearby, leaving behind only a shimmering distortion that slowly faded like the last note of a symphony. Amid the celebration that followed, Alina found Hana sitting quietly with her flute. "How did you know it would work?" Alina asked. The girl looked up with ancient eyes in a child's face. "I've always known the music," she said simply. "I just needed everyone else to hear it too." In the aftermath of humanity's unexpected victory, news of this singing species spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Sorani collective fractured from within. Leadership councils called for purges of human sympathizers. Colonial worlds declared independence. Military units refused orders to continue the conflict. Many ships, unable to return home without facing charges of failure, surrendered to human authorities. Others retreated to convey warnings about the awakened conductor heirs, sparking political upheaval throughout Sorani space that would last generations. On Earth, resonance technology transformed human civilization virtually overnight. Harmonic generators provided clean energy by manipulating quantum fields. Resonance healers worked alongside conventional medicine, using specific frequencies to accelerate cell regeneration. Transportation networks utilized harmonic tunneling to reduce transit times between continents to minutes rather than hours. Children born after the awakening displayed unprecedented resonance abilities, able to intuitively manipulate sound patterns that adults required years of training to master. Schools established resonance education alongside traditional subjects, with ethical training emphasized above technical skill. "We've inherited the power of gods," Dr. Elena Reyes told the newly formed Global Resonance Council from her position as head of the United Earth Resonance Authority. Her once dark hair had turned prematurely gray from the stress of the conflict, but her eyes remained sharp and determined. "But we must maintain the wisdom of humans. Our power to annihilate must always be tempered by our capacity for compassion." Under her guidance, rigorous ethical protocols were established for resonance usage. Military applications required unanimous approval from a civilian oversight board. Resonance technology was shared freely among nations rather than hoarded for advantage. Regular global ceremonies reinforced the responsibility that came with such abilities, many conducted by reformed Sorani led by Ambassador Vexera, whose blue-skinned figure became a common sight at diplomatic functions. 6 months after the battle, the full tragic history emerged through recovered memory crystals and artifacts from the 21 seed ships scattered across the solar system. Sorani archaeological records, long suppressed by their leadership, confirmed the truth. The ancient Sorani had betrayed the conductors out of fear of their power, sabotaging their final defense against the discordant. then systematically hunting down potential successor species and rewriting galactic history to justify their actions. "You have judged us with more mercy than we showed your predecessors," Vexera told the human tribunal established to determine the fate of surrendered Sorani forces. "Perhaps this is why the conductors chose your kind as their heirs." The tribunal's decision was controversial but ultimately approved. No collective punishment would be imposed. Individual Sorani would be judged by their actions, not their species. Those who participated in atrocities faced justice. Those who surrendered peacefully were invited to join human society or return home as ambassadors of a new understanding. As humanity recovered more seed ships and awakened more of their dormant abilities, Harmony Station's long-range sensors detected faint harmonic disturbances at the edge of the solar system. Dr. Himura confirmed what they had all feared. These were signs that the ancient seals against the discordant were weakening. The entities that nearly devoured the galaxy eons ago were stirring, drawn perhaps by the awakening of conductor harmonics. In a special session of the Global Council, Dr. Rice proposed a bold plan. Humanity would not merely defend against the coming storm, but would take up the conductor's mantle as universal harmonizers. "We have an opportunity and a responsibility to succeed where even our predecessors faltered," she declared. "Not through force, but through resonance that brings harmony rather than annihilation." 1 year later, at a shipyard orbiting Jupiter, crowds gathered to witness history. The first interstellar human orchestra vessel, the Resonant Hope, prepared for launch. Its crew included the finest resonance casters from Earth and Mars, the most brilliant harmonic engineers, and a contingent of reformed Sorani scientists led by Vexera. At the heart of the ship stood 16-year-old Hana Tanaka, now recognized as the most powerful conductor in human history. The instrument she held was no longer a simple flute, but an intricate conductor's baton fashioned from materials from all 21 seed ships, containing harmonics capable of mending reality itself. As the Resonant Hope activated its harmonic drive, creating a bubble of altered spacetime that propelled it toward the nearest star system, containing a detected weakness in the discordant barrier. Dr. Rice watched from Harmony Station, tears streaming down her face. In the control room, as the ship disappeared in a flash of prismatic light, Camden Wells smiled enigmatically. "They thought we were primitive because we still made music for pleasure," he said softly, fingers tapping out a rhythm only he could hear. "They never understood that's precisely why we'll win." Across the solar system, billions of humans hummed the departure harmony, their voices joining in a resonance pattern that stretched from Earth to the Kuiper Belt. The dormant signal that once awakened humanity had become a symphony that would echo across the stars, carrying with it the promise that mankind's unique blend of creativity, resilience, and newly awakened powers might achieve what even the conductors could not, a universe protected not through destruction, but through harmony. And somewhere in the void between stars, ancient entities stirred, sensing for the first time in eons the return of music to a silent galaxy.